We're live.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Christine. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to be here.
Yes, absolutely. This is awesome. It's episode 2. This is the beginning of the rest of our lives.
Yes. What's to come with the bridge?
Yes. So, Colleen, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Did you want to kick us off with the goal of the show?
Absolutely. So just to let everybody know, Colleen might freeze a little bit on the screen. Colleen, would you like to share?
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Yes. So there is a small chance that I may freeze because I am actually conducting our episode from Spain today. So I'm all the way across the pond here in Spain. So if I do freeze a tiny bit, I apologize in advance.
Well, we can hear you no matter what. So that's the best. That's the best. And please eat some good food for all of us.
I certainly will.
All right, everybody. So today, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to We Built a Bridge, hosted by myself, Christine Passo, and the ever so wonderful Colleen Saringer, if I may say so myself. So We Built a Bridge was founded with the goal of bringing people with different backgrounds and unique experiences together to build bridges that connect all the minds. I'm a life coach for women, and I'm also a connection keynote speaker. And Colleen is a fractional chief well-being officer to small businesses. United, we offer different perspectives on wellness, culture, and life fulfillment at work and in our personal lives. We will share necessary stories on every episode, and there'll also be sensitive stories that evolve around those topics and invite you to open your mind to connect all the minds. So thank you so much for being here. We are thrilled. And Colleen?
Yeah. So why don't we just we'll keep this kind of going here. So basically the purpose of our show today, in other words, where are we headed? So basically, Christine and I, we're going to discuss the article that connected the two of us here on LinkedIn. Ultimately, this article was about a company that replaced their managers with coaches. As a result, this organization saw their employees become 20% more productive and happier. Now, Christine, I know that you have a few things that you want to share about this particular post, but before we get into that, I think we have to start with our opening icebreaker. And so for this week, what we have set up is, what is the most recent picture on your phone? Assuming, of course, that it's safe to share.
Oh my goodness. We talked about what this question would be today, and I forgot. So let me pull up here.
Ooh,
oh my gosh, this is hysterical.
On the spot.
So I don't know how well you can see this. Can you see it?
Oh, I can see it good. Yeah. Oh, your baby bear.
So I was cutting up fruit last night for a fruit salad, and little Maya Ray, who is undeniably ridiculously cute, I don't know what to tell you about that, but she came up and sat down and had all the fur in her chest coming out, her fur chest, being like, I want some strawberries. And I tried to give her a bite, and she said, no, I don't want it, and kind of put her nose up, came back 5 seconds later in the same pose and is a huge strawberry fiend. So that picture was her begging for strawberries.
Which is so cute. So for those of you that may not know, Christine posts every Friday, Fur Baby Friday. And so love that that was your most recent picture, and I'm not surprised.
Yeah, exactly. And okay, Colleen, your turn.
So for me, I'm not going to show it. I do have my phone here, but I'm not going to show it. But what it is it's a picture of me doing a crescent lunge. My husband likes to take sneaky photos of me when I'm working out. I don't know. He's very weird about it. He's like, but you just look so like in the moment and so cool. So he took a picture of me doing a crescent lunge. So that's the photo.
Well, listen, I'm here to tell you that if we do most recent photo in your phone again, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to show it. Just saying. I think the audience agrees. I think our listeners agree.
They probably do. I don't want to show it. All right. Okay. So let's get back to the article in the post. because from what I understand, the article did not just speak to me. So I was not the only one that reshared this article that you had posted about, Christine. So I would love to hear your feedback on that.
Oh my gosh, it was so crazy. I saw that somebody had posted it, and of course, being a coach, I was drawn to it. And I wasn't even finished reading the article, Colleen, when I reposted it. And the headline of my post said, "Bring in the coaches." And boom, I sent it. This was months ago. This was maybe May, I think. And I didn't have as many followers or connections back then, but even now in the year 2023, that post has the second highest impressions of all my posts all year. It's crazy. It got, for me at the time, again, I didn't have as many followers, had 15 reposts, over 3,000 impressions, which again was big for me at the time. I couldn't even believe it. And that is how you and I connected, which I absolutely love the most about it.
Yeah.
And it was just crazy to me. And it also inspired the first invitation I got to be a guest on a podcast. So it was epic, right? It was just epic. And I was in the beginning of having launched my business. So I had spent 20 years in marketing and advertising. And in those 2 decades of time, only one leader, so this really goes into what inspired me to post it. I only had one leader that brought their coach-like skills to the table. And in doing so, it changed my life. And that just went on with how important and how meaningful that article was to me and still is to me. I had an interview with this person who would be my manager. And during that interview, she changed the way I thought about myself due to her questions and that due to the fact that she saw me, Christine Passo, versus a job candidate, right? I was somebody that had my own dreams, and she recognized that in the interview. It totally blew my mind. And it just went to show me how amazing it is for somebody to bring those kind of skills to the table, how it kicks an employee's engagement into gear, right? Because they feel valued, they feel like they really matter to the business. And it just blew my mind away. And so, in that, it's like, I feel like we talk about how important it is to put the right people in management and leadership positions, but I also feel like it's talked about more than it's actually incorporated into company culture. Okay, I said it, I put it out into the universe, right? I did it. And so with that, I almost want to ask you, because I know how intensely important this article is to you due to how passionate you are in the work that you do. So tell me how you feel about the article and what inspired you to repost it.
Yeah. So the timing of you putting this out, so you put this article out in May, and as I was reading this article, I was out walking my dog. I think it was 6:30 in the morning, and I was literally only a handful of days following the last day at an organization that I literally thought I was going to retire with.
Wow.
So prior to, basically coming into 2023, I knew I was no longer going to be working for the organization that I was working for. I had done a lot of work to get to that point. Mm-hmm. But so much of what was brought into the article, things like disengagement, not feeling valued, not having opportunities to learn and grow, all of which was tied to my manager, it just really spoke to me. It was such a vulnerable time that May, because April 28th was my last day. So I was so vulnerable. But when I go back and reread this article, I feel the exact same. I can literally pinpoint to those very specific things that I just called out that were referenced in the article as to why it spoke to me so much, why I felt like others need to read this article and understand what's missing, that we have a really big gap in the workplace and it's hurting workplaces.
Oh yeah, it really is. It was amazing to me to understand on a larger scale how important that article was to all these people, right? So it blew up again. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. Where when I would bring up these types of thoughts and discussions in the companies that I'd worked with, say, oh no, we have that, we offer this, we offer that, or our managers are trained. And I think there's a lot of denial in that, and it doesn't sit well with the employees that aren't leaders, because they are the ones experiencing the lack of proper management, right?
Right,
And
exactly.
so, the main goal, so the article was written by a CEO of a company. He made the decision to replace his managers with coaches, with the main goal of testing the effort to help their employees be as productive and as possible, and in doing so achieve more in what the daily work that they do. And so this is a really granular question and could be sensitive, but I feel like that's what the show is about. And my question to you is, what do you feel may be lacking in our managers that's hindering their teams from excelling not only as employees, but in their career?
Yeah, so I think this is a tough one to say out loud. And I think for those that are in manager positions, sometimes it may be difficult to hear the word, but I do think that managers are ill-equipped.
Yeah.
So the unfortunate thing, right, is that people are put into these roles because maybe it's a requirement in order for me to advance within the organization. Or maybe it's because I've been with a company for X amount of years and they don't really know what else to do for me, so they're going to give me people to manage. Or maybe it's because I'm just really good at my job. But none of those things make a good manager. Managers, they have to be developed, right? In many areas that fall under a word I'm really excited, or a phrase I'm excited to hear we're talking about more and more, which is emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot that goes into that, right? And so all that to say that because there's this lack of, just kind of general awareness of what to even do, how to be a manager, there's little understanding in things like, how do I give feedback? How often do I give it? How important are things like annual reviews, quarterly reviews, monthly meetings, things that connect people together? So again, kind of bringing that into some of the need or what's missing. A lot of when I go back to that ill-equipped, a lot of managers don't know how to keep employees engaged, like through finding those opportunities to learn and grow. And not only that, but also how do we help employees navigate the landscape of the business in order to take on maybe even projects that would showcase the individual's true strengths. So I want to pause there, because I think there's this kind of like someone's feedback might say, well, what if there just isn't anything else for the individual? Or what if there isn't anything else for the manager to give or to guide the individual? And that could 100% be the case. And I feel like that was potentially the case in my situation at my old workplace. But then that conversation has to happen, right? Managers have to then, rather than pulling people along, that conversation has to happen to say, look, there just aren't any other opportunities for you. Maybe it's time to talk about, we either stay the course of X or we talk about transitioning you out, right? But I even think that conversation managers aren't comfortable having. And that could have potentially saved me 3 years, right? I'm sorry, go ahead. You want to jump in?
No, I'm sorry. I interrupted you. But I feel like it's this perfect opportunity. So I mentioned the hiring manager that I interviewed with, who changed the course of my life. And that's exactly what her answer was when I asked the question. So just to bring up this really quickly, as a candidate, I asked the question during the interview. I said, if you were to have hired me and look back a year from now, what is it that I would have had to have done to prove to you that I was a smart hire? That's a valid question, right? And her response was, well, if you feel like you're thriving here and you're happy in the job that you're doing, and if you're not, we are working to transition you into a role here that better suits your goals. And then this is the kicker. And touches 100% on what you just said. She said, and if we don't have that role here, we will have an exit strategy in place together to get you where you want to go, even if it's with another company. I mean, I'm telling you, my mind was absolutely blown. And that's where she honored me as Christine Passo and not a candidate or an employee. And again, 25 years in corporate America. And that was the first time I was ever honored in that way.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know if that was a skill she learned in her education and years of school, or if it was just part of who she was. But that is so important and so speaks to that level of really stepping outside of ourselves to be that kind of manager that sees beyond right here, right now.
Yes, it's truly like wanting to, it's what part of like being an emotionally intelligent person is you want not just good for yourself, but you truly genuinely want good for other people, right? I mean, that's, and we can't take for granted that everyone really understands what that means or understands that that's part of the role. And so where my mind was going as you were saying that, you know, at the organization that I worked at for so long, I never wanted, I said, I do not want to manage people. I don't want to have that paperworky relationship with anyone. But I was a manager to so many because I think about the role that I played with helping people navigate. Look, from what I can see from the seat that I'm sitting in, there is really nothing left here for you. So let's get you out of here. Let's find a path that's going to better serve you. And again, I wasn't even a manager, but I just thought, gosh, there's so much more out there that you as an employee could be thriving and growing. And why should we be selfish and keep you here if it's not the best fit?
That's right.
So that just, it caught my ear as you were saying that. And I just think it's just a skill that we just can't take for granted.
No. And I mean, this is, a question a bit off the cuff from what we talked about, but how would you go about educating leadership to have that approach? Because it is, like you said, really delicate, and it has to be worded in a way that the employee doesn't feel like they're being fired or they're being let go, that it's really coming from a place of care and saying, basically, I want to mentor you. And that's what my role is about. So how would you suggest that be incorporated into training?
Honestly, Christine, I think you actually hit the nail on the head. I think we have to stop beating around the bush and say that this is the way that we are going to function as an organization. We are not going to string people along. We are not, yet ultimately the goal is to keep people here. And that's what I would always say with the individuals that I worked with. I would say, look, here's the thing. At the end of the day, I want you here. I don't want you to leave. But I also want to make, like, we're going to turn over every rock together. And so but I think that just has to innately be part of the conversation as you're training managers, as you're setting to say, this is who we are. This is what we represent as a company. Let's work together to ensure we are turning over every leaf and rock. But let's ensure that we're telling our people that that's what our path is, that that's the way that we function. That's our culture. That's our climate. That's who we are, rather than making them guess.
Yes. And this brings me to another very important question, and potentially even sensitive, but again, that's what we do here. So when we talk about the article, so the article is, we replaced our managers with coaches and our engagement increased by 20%. So in referencing McKinsey's findings that disengaged employees are more likely to quit. And indeed, the main reasons driving this trend were employees not feeling valued by their organization, which is 54% of employees. Or the manager, 52%, and not feeling a sense of belonging at work, 51%. So these are really upsetting statistics. So I'm here to talk about the elephant in the room that people don't think is the elephant in the room, and that's turnover, right? So this feeds into a bit of what we're talking about. So my feeling is that companies are throwing their money in the trash due to high turnover, yet they hesitate to invest in their employees. For example, offering coaching to their employees or offering coaching training to their leadership. So will you speak to this, what I feel is a misconception of knowledge, and what companies can start doing to change this cycle?
Yeah, so I am fully in line with you. I mean, to me, turnover costs a ton of money. You are literally taking money out of the profit bank. And so we have to focus on that. And so all that to say, I'm aligned with you 100% there. So as far as like what companies can start doing to change this cycle, first and foremost, I think that companies need to truly own up and understand how big of an impact managers and leaders have on the employees. And so research has told us this for years and years and years. I think it's finally surfacing more and more coming, out of the pandemic. But research has always told us that people quit their managers, not their company. And so that's a big deal, right? And so we need to continue to educate and help companies understand what that means and what's the why behind it. And so there's another kind of nerdy statistic that I'd love to throw in here. Again,
I love when you share nerdy things.
Love a nerdy statistic, but I think it's so important we have to still give the awareness, because I still don't think there's enough awareness around it, is that there are so many workplace stressors that actually truly do impact risk for chronic conditions, things like cancer, heart disease, and diabetes.
Yeah.
And lack of supervisor support is one of them. That's a stressor at the workplace. Role ambiguity, lack of flexibility, not feeling valued, feeling excluded. Those things are typically wrapped around your manager and or the team, right, that you function within. So if those things are out of balance, that's going to impact my actual physical health. So again, I think that organizations have to realize who they have overseeing their people play a tremendous role. And so we cannot ignore that.
No.
So then the other thing that I'll just add is, again, I think that in regards to change the cycle, I think it goes back to that training. And I like a little structure. I know, some companies may not, but I do think that people do thrive under some form of structure, especially, a workplace. It's not my house. I want to know how I need to function inside your house. So please tell me, give me the rules. But I always think about the military. And I think that the way the military functions, and I hope I'm not speaking out of line, but the way the military functions is that there's typically a set of skills that you have to achieve before you can actually advance, right? And so why are we not putting in kind of similar trainings and similar practices that once achieved, we can help you advance? Because what we do know about emotional intelligence is that you actually can strengthen that. Those are skills. You can strengthen that from yourself physically. And so I really do think that there's a big opportunity to create a little bit more structure and, again, support and training around really helping people that are going to be managing others understand the importance of being a person.
Yes.
So that's how I would answer that question.
So, I mean, but that brings about like this huge question, which is, where's the disconnect? I mean, we're not working in companies. People that are interviewing for roles are looking for companies that have strong culture. They don't want to just read about it on the website. They want to know that it is instilled in the employees. I mean, I worked at a company where, the website was all about culture and, oh, we do this and we do this. And then I get in and it's chaos. I mean, it is far from it. So, and of course, C-level is saying, oh, no, we're good. Everything's on our website. You can see it there. No, we've got great culture. It's like, no, there's a giant disconnect. I mean, how can we bridge that gap? How can organizations or people maybe stop thinking that we're operating in a work culture that was 30 years ago? It's not happening anymore. How do you recommend that bridge be gapped when you go in and work with your clients?
I'm going to be very forthright, Christine.
That's what I want.
I'm going to be very forthright. You can't sell that to a company. They have to get it. And the business owner, the founder, they have to get it. if they don't, I feel like you're going to always have that bridge that's not bridged. You're going to always have that gap. And so it's either there's either the leader, the founder, the owner, they're saying, yes, we see this, we get it, we understand the impact, or they don't. Other than that, you're pushing a boulder uphill. So I do think there are a few specials out, there's more than a few, but there's a lot of special organizations out there that get it. For those that don't, that's a tough one.
Yeah, no, and I imagine it is. I mean, it's really for anything, right? I mean, it's same thing with my coaching. I don't exist to convince people to work with me. Either they're in that place or, I mean, it's just going to be a disaster. So I can respect and appreciate that a great deal. And I can imagine for you in your position that the best thing that you can do, like you do with your post, is to talk so passionately about what is happening and help to shine the light or inspire a light bulb to go off for, an HR person, leader or people operations or whoever it might be, to question themselves. And, you posing those questions for them to answer, I think would be a great opportunity. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, because there's a set of questions that when you do even start to work with a leader, this work has to start with the leader too. Like the leaders aren't exempt. The CEO, whoever it is in the C-suite, they're not exempt. They have to go through the work too, right? That's how it all starts to flow through nicely.
Yeah. Oh, so important.
All right. Yeah. So, but I'm looking at our time and we want to honor our 30 minutes. So I'm going to throw us into a wrap up if you're okay with that.
Oh my gosh, please go for it. This has been such inspiring conversation. So let's, have some fun now.
All right. No, that was fun. What are you talking about?
It was fun. Yes.
All right. So our next show is scheduled for December 14th. So we're going to keep going through December and we're super excited about it. But so really, so now that Christine and I are together, like we've been even asking ourselves the same question. So what happens next? And what we'd love as we come into December 14th and toward the end of the year and into 2024, we'd love to have those of you that are listening or even watching our post promoting the show, share topics or questions that you think might be valuable to address going forward. So if you've, again, watched me on LinkedIn, I know Christine knows this very well. From an employer standpoint, I'm a huge proponent of verbal feedback from employees. And I also think it's really important to bring employees into solutions and into demonstrating areas of opportunity. And so for us, it's really important to walk that talk. And so, of course, you, the listener, are not employees of ours, but we want you to keep coming back. So ultimately, we want the show to be for you and with you, not just about us. Hence, again, the reason that we'd love to hear some feedback from you about what it is that you're interested in hearing us talk about.
Yes, absolutely. And as we've said, and we've covered a few times on today's show, that, we're not afraid to talk about the sensitive things because it's important because we're thinking them. Doesn't mean everybody's talking about, but we want to create that space to have those conversations and let you know that this is a safe space and that it is okay to talk about it. So you're welcome to post on our, the show comments, or you can DM us, whatever you're comfortable with, but we would love to bring it up in our December 14 show. Because again, this is about building bridges and letting everybody know that they matter and that we're there for them and that we're going to talk about everything. So thank you so much for being here. And Colleen will be back in the States for our next show.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, I will be back in the States. So thank you everyone so much for joining us today. We so appreciate your support and look forward to the 14th.
Yes. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks.
Bye.